to another session of Life Sciences Professionals Podcast. I'm excited for our second session, and our special guest today is Ileana Abet, and she is a senior marketing and sales professional who's going to share her experience of working in marketing and the challenger sales model and how important it is she thinks it is to marry the two, as well as her experience throughout her career. I can't wait to have you hear her experiences and what she's going to share with us today, and we'll just get right into it. Thanks for joining us. Well, Ileana, thanks so much for joining us. It's exciting to have you. You know, you and I've known each other for some time now, and I've watched your career progress, and excited to have you share some of your experiences and things that you've seen in the marketplace. And as you know, there's been lots of challenges go on out there. But maybe if you don't mind, just take a couple minutes to share with your audience a bit about yourself. That's always helpful. Everybody has a different story and a different path, right? That gets us where we are today. A bit about yourself professionally and personally, that would be awesome.
Okay, great. Well, I started off as an engineer with a business degree because I couldn't pick what I wanted to do. So I chose both. And I immediately went to work for a medical device company, which was actually really ironic because I had never taken biology in school. Because my dad made me take all the math courses available instead. And so I became an engineer, and I went down and I worked in the US on programming pacemakers and defibrillators for a company called Guidant at the time. It was then acquired by Boston Scientific. And that got me into the medical device industry. And then I continued working in that industry for the remainder up to the present time, working for then Medtronic and Boston Scientific and Baxter and Medela, which is when I got into more the consumer side of things as well. And then a little stint with an AI company in the middle, because that's all the rage these days. So that was really interesting to me. And then back over to Baxter as a business unit director for them. In terms of, my passion for the industry hasn't waned. So I'm looking for my next opportunity to remain in the industry. And in terms of family, I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, and happily married to my British husband, who brings greetings from the Queen everywhere we go.
And he's in the industry as well. So that's, I'll share that too. So there's lots of talk at home about,
Yes. Who's buying whom?
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna love that. But I know Matt as well. So it's awesome. So, tell us about, what has contributed to your success and brought you to where you are now, and a little bit about that, to become a senior leader. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. So I like to think that I know myself fairly well, but I think it helps when you do some of these leadership assessments. So I'll use my Gallup assessment to help me answer that question a little bit. So my motto has always sort of been get stuff done. And so I think that, when I'm working, I'm an achiever, right? So I just like to get things done, and I have a lot of stamina, and I love being productive. So being the person that, if you don't know what to do with it, give it to Ileana, I really have enjoyed that. And I think hand in hand with that goes the activator, as they call it in the Gallup world. And that really just means you make things happen, and you like to do things in the moment, like not just talk about things. So I think those 2 things really combine for my motto of get stuff done, which I've known myself since I was little. I just wanted to get in there and get it done. So I think that helps, along with positivity, right? So really being upbeat, being a chronic optimist, and having this infectious sort of enthusiasm that I like to think I've been able to get people on board and generate that enthusiasm for the work that we were doing. So I think the other thing that Gallup calls woo, which I think is really funny, it's a WOO, and that just really means that you love a challenge of meeting new people and you love to get them, break the ice and get them on board. So this falls into their influence category. So I think that by enjoying meeting new people and getting them on your side and breaking the ice and so on, it means that you sort of have this ability to influence people, bring them to your side, and then build support, right? And then from a marketing perspective, if you weren't a communicator and a strategist, that would probably not lead to the most successful marketing career, because that is one of the things you need to do constantly is communicate, be really strategic, be able to socialize and sort of gain feedback about your ideas, and again, get people on board with your ideas. And then also from a strategic perspective, really just thinking about alternatives, scenarios and what could happen, and then choosing the scenario of either, most profitability or best chance of success or whatever. So looking for those patterns and issues ahead of time. So I think that's sort of what strategy means to me. So I think combining those 4 or 5 skill sets, I think has really helped. And please know that these were not skill sets I was born with. These are skill sets that I gathered along the way in my career from great leaders, from people I wanted to emulate, and things I also wanted to avoid doing. So learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. So, when you think of, like both of us were in the industry, as you know,
Yeah.
and when we were learning and trying to find our path, which way you're going, and can it be sales, can it be marketing, and those sorts of things, what advice would you give individuals who think they want to go into marketing, and how do they know it's their true passion? Like, how do they sort of explore marketing as a career path?
I became interested in marketing based on my business degree that I took. I had a professor, and I always smile when I say his name because he was awesome, Dr. Malik, Professor Malik at McMaster University. He taught our marketing course, and he just had this really infectious way of teaching marketing and making it real world problems that he gave us all the time. And he used to say, so what, which now when I look back to it, is he was trying to dig down to the next level of why does this matter? Why does this matter to consumers? Why does this matter to your customers and to you? And so I think that if you have an innate interest in people and why they buy what they buy when they buy it, then marketing is a great thing to think about. But I think the other thing is there's a lot of misconceptions about marketing being this all about advertising and glossy brochures, and it's really not. Promotion is one of the core 4 P's of marketing, but even that marketing mix has now grown to 7 P's, right? And so the promotion is really just part of that. So when you think about marketing, really think about, it's about strategy. It's about the vision of the future that you paint for a company, and then how you get there, right? And how you get there piece really entails a lot of analytics and a lot of financial acumen. So if you're interested in some of those things, I think that marketing might be something you should explore. The other thing is really network and get to know people in that industry and ask them what they do on a day-to-day basis. If you're a person who likes to be out and not be sitting in front of spreadsheets at times, marketing might not be for you, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it really does get quite technical. There's obviously the people side of it and the promotions and the sort of the visible side of marketing, but those are the tools that you employ to get to your strategy, to execute your strategy.
And, speaking about that and being in marketing, what are some of the resources that you found were really the most valuable to help you succeed, or that you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, having a good mentor is always an outstanding resource, and just sort of having that thirst for knowledge and continuously being willing to learn. So I started off, when I started my engineering career, I started off really being very technical, software programming and so on. But then I kind of looked outside of that and I thought, what else is there that I could do that sort of gets me on this path to doing something different and more? And I pursued my project management professional certification. I then started taking some courses. I took a business course at Wharton School of Business, and then did a few things with Schulich and so on to sort of broaden that perspective, and then really lean heavily on your network, right? So again, if you know people who are in marketing, and there's so many free resources as well too. If you sign up for like LinkedIn, if you get their professional membership, you get a ton of free resources through there. But also work with your employer, right? If you know that this is a direction that you'd like to go in from a marketing perspective, work with them. What resources are available within the company? Can you get a mentor within the company that is a more experienced marketer, and dig into what resources they use? And then look at your leaders, right? That are working within that space. They can also be an invaluable resource, as well as people like yourself. You give us recruiters give us a good idea of what there is out there, what companies are providing, and what potential other educational opportunities are out there.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a coach? Did you ever hire a coach or have one provided for you?
I never hired a coach or had one provided for me formally, but absolutely there are people that I have worked with, most recently at Hillrom. I even did a post recently on LinkedIn, a big shout out to Sherry Redberg. She had this ability of just making everyone around her want to be better, right? So really being close to the types of people that inspire you to be your very best. Not because they tell you to, but it's like an intrinsic. Those are the people you should really be looking to gravitate towards, right? How are they doing that? How are they invoking that sort of emotion in yourself about wanting to self-improve, but also look at how they're doing it for others. And those are people that you may want to emulate and understand more about their process and their thinking.
It's interesting. Let's talk about that for a second. That just kind of, I think, especially post-COVID and people reflecting and trying to think it different. Do they want to stay where they're currently working and start to explore, now, there's hybrid roles and some are going back into the office, and, people are now lifting their heads and saying, hey, I want to look for a new role. And the amount of people that are reaching out to us now looking for roles is astronomical. And the individuals that are looking are top talent, right? They're not individuals that are disgruntled. They're now looking at their new career, right?
Right.
So, and you think of people like Sherry that you worked for, and really, you yourself looking now for your next career move. Mm-hmm. When you're looking for the ideal manager, someone to inspire you, the environment, what's the advice you would give to people really in managing your career and next steps? What's the best advice that you could give them? It's one thing to come from me, but you yourself as a leader in hiring, what's your advice?
Yeah, I think that people should look, in my experience, the companies that I've worked for that had a mission, so they were a mission-driven organization that were in some sort of positive space where it was making a positive impact on people's lives. So those mission-driven organizations, I find that they tend to stick to their mission and try to make a positive impact on people's lives. So I think looking for that is really important. So when you're interviewing, you can ask, are you a mission-driven organization? What is your mission? A lot of times you will know what someone's mission is because it'll be right on their website, but ask them for examples of how people in the organization would be living that mission. Secondly, I think the leadership team is so important. You want to look for a leadership team that's like really looking and actively working on an incredible culture where they take ownership of creating engagement and motivation and supporting the employees. And you do that with trust. And part of that trust is to give flexibility in terms of the working conditions, right? So that will already tell you quite a bit about a company, if whether or not they've embraced this hybrid work situation or not. And then maybe you can ask and look for people that work at that company and understand how they feel about their coworkers. Do they genuinely like and care for one another? Do they have opportunities to grow themselves and better themselves? I think, and how do they have some fun? I mean, we spend so much time at work with our coworkers, even more sometimes than what we spend at home with our loved ones. So definitely make sure that the culture is one that has some fun built into it. And then I think for me personally, and one of the reasons I've stayed so long in medical devices is because I've had a role where I felt that I could make a positive impact, right? So whether it was getting heart valves to patients, whether it was helping most recently a hospital transform in a undergo their digital transformation and how I can contribute to that journey, I think that having something that even on your hard days, because not every day is going to be, rainbows and unicorns at work, even on those hard days, it's nice to have a purpose, a higher purpose. So look for roles and organizations that might be able to support you in that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting. So many candidates now, it's changed what they're asking for. They're looking at different things, right? And they want to be happy, but it's the money is like the fourth thing on the list. It's not the income's not top of the list anymore. It's that work-life balance and challenge and opportunity to learn. It's what is it, the day in the life of the culture and the environment of the organization, day in the life, what they're going to do. Those are the top priorities, and sort of as what you spoke of, it's really what they're looking for. So it really has changed. Now, as a senior marketing leader, what are some of the frequent misconceptions that you think people have of the industry?
Of the industry.
Industry or in marketing, I should maybe be more specific about marketing.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the misconceptions around marketing is, like I talked about, they see the tools that marketing employs in terms of, the advertising and some of the communication materials, but there's a lot behind that, right? So that's where you get it really into the strategic thinking and the market research and the financial sort of modeling and so on. So I think that is a bit of the misconception there, that marketing is like the lipstick on the pig, right? But there's quite a lot of the background that marketing does in terms of really setting the direction for a company based on data, right? And so if you're the creative type, know that marketing could be for you, but you have to have that analytic mindset as well. So I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions is that about marketing.
I was really excited. You and I were talking over lunch not long ago, and we were talking about the Challenger sale and marketing. So can you elaborate on that? I know that you're a huge proponent of the Challenger sale and how marketing works closely with that. And for years and years and years, like that, there have been individuals who thought sales and marketing were just two totally different channels within the businesses, and often they didn't align or didn't collaborate and work well together. And you are someone who thinks totally different about that. So do you mind sharing your thoughts on the Challenger sale and marketing and help us enlighten us on that?
Yeah, so I've been through quite a few selling methodologies, I will call them. So there's spin selling, value-based selling, and then I came across Challenger sales at Medela, and it was we had a trainer that we brought in to teach us about Challenger, and I was like, oh, here we go again, another methodology, and there's like Miller Heiman and so on. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, but I was fairly bought into Miller Heiman, just being very structured and so on. But then when I started learning about Challenger, and it sort of started off with an insight. The person that was teaching the course shared an insight that, kind of asked us to put our hands up as what we thought was the most important thing in selling. And so many people said relationships, right? And then the person said, well, you would be fundamentally wrong because it's not just relationships. Yes, the top sales people do have relationships, but they also challenge their customer. And I think you could see the salespeople in the room going, challenge the customer? What are we talking about here, right? And so, and so that is really maybe not in the comfort zone of many sales reps, right? And so there's these two gentlemen, Matt Dixon and Brent Adamson. And so they actually started off with CEB, and then CEB got acquired by Gartner. They might be somewhere else now, called something else, but they had conducted this huge study of thousands of sales reps. And they actually discovered that most of them sort of fit relatively neatly into 5 different buckets. And then they started looking within each bucket and looking at who were the top performers and what percentage of the sales rep that fell in that bucket were top performers. And it turned out that the challenger rep, the challenger category, had about 39% of sales rep that fell in the challenger category were high performers. And to give you a little bit of understanding, the next best one was this one called Lone Wolf, and that had 25% only of their sales reps that fell in that category as being deemed highly successful. And so one thing I should point out is that the challenger sales really talks more about selling this in this complex B2B large scale. So it's not about selling your kids on the value of bedtime. That's not what we're talking about here. And so challenger reps then, when they looked at them, they had these ability to challenge their customers, but challenge them. And I'll explain what that means, because it's really about bringing insights to their customers. So it wasn't really about like, no, you're wrong, right? That's not what we mean by that. It was showing them better ways to do things. But these challenger reps created this constructive tension with their customers to say that the way that you're currently doing things, I have insights and I have information and I have data to show that what you're doing isn't ideal, that you could be doing better. And here, let me show you how, right? So that's what I mean about they challenge. But the reason it's called that is because you think about it, if you've been doing something a long time and somebody comes and tells you, hey, there's a better way to do it, you're immediately feeling challenged, right? But they discovered that there is value to this constructive tension that you're creating, right? So those reps, they were able to really bring, challenge the status quo, and then bring these well-researched, customized solutions to their customers. And they were able to do what's called teach, tailor, and take control. And so they were able to teach them a new way of doing things. They tailored that new way to the particular customer's situation, and then they took control of the sale, right? And so this really, by the end of it, you could see like everybody in the room was leaning forward and really being engaged with this this challenger methodology. And then my favorite part of it as a marketer was that the marketing team was absolutely instrumental in building what's called the commercial insight. And this commercial insight is what the sales reps would go out and use. And the reason it's called a commercial insight, not just an insight, is because you can commercialize it. So it basically leads your customer to only your solution, right? So if you're doing an insight that other companies can fulfill, that's not a commercial insight because you're not the only one that can customize it. So it's really getting the customer to see that only your solution is going to help them solve this problem. So the reason, again, the sales and marketing have to work so closely together is because marketing helps to build a story out, right? Marketing does some of the market research in partnership with the sales team to really customize that story for the customer themselves. So I also saw the tremendous success of this approach live at Medela when I was working there. They had really, really good success with this approach. So marketing, building a commercial insight though is no joke. It is trying to find your differentiating factor, making sure your value proposition is exactly head on. So it really, I think, brings in a lot of different components of other methodologies into one clear-cut methodology. And there's also teachings around how to build a commercial insight. So then the marketing team went through that training of how to build a commercial insight. So you can see that the sales and marketing have to work together in order to bring the very best to the customer and take control of that sale.
So just for my understanding, so did the Challenger teach that commercial insight portion? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so there's two portions to Challenger. So there's the Challenger sort of sales methodology, and then there's this Challenger piece about building the commercial insight that the sales team uses. So the sales team sort of gets taught about how to challenge, and by that there's also a Challenger choreography, which the sales reps are again taught on a smaller scale how to build that choreography where you're creating that creative tension and constructive tension. Then there's like building the rationale for it, and then you're a little bit drowning your people with data, your customers with data, right? So for them to realize that, oh my gosh, there's a sense of getting like, oh my gosh, the pain of staying with the status quo, the pain of the same is greater than the pain of change, right? So that's why as a sales rep, they teach you that piece. And then as marketers, they teach us how to build a commercial insight. Mm-hmm. So it's a
And I can see that's pretty incredible, right? In terms of the difference, but it's that old shoe, new shoe. Really getting everybody to think differently and to be able to adopt it and feel comfortable with it. That's not an easy task for sure.
It does actually take quite a bit of practice from both the sales and the marketing perspective. And I think one of the hard parts is that you cannot lead with your product, which is what a lot of people are used to, right? In sales, they're used to either understanding a problem, asking the customer a lot about their problems and what they would like to see a solution, and knowing how complex the buying process is now, and the time crunch that everybody's under. You can't necessarily go to customers to get all that information, right? You have to kind of build it outside, looking at market data and your understanding of the customer's needs, and then coming back and tailoring that message. So that's the other thing. The Challenger methodology isn't a one-time thing. It's like building over time, right? So that's also really interesting.
Yeah, excellent. So now looking at where you are now, what's next for you? What's the next opportunity? I saw you post on LinkedIn, which is very good. But, share with our audience and tell us, a lot of individuals are like yourself looking for new opportunities, but you've got such a great background in terms of, your marketing and the different companies that you've worked with. You've got such great talent to offer organizations at a senior level. So what's next?
Well, I think I need to take my own advice and really look for that mission-driven company, look for that leadership team that is concerned with the culture of the company. I just saw firsthand when the culture is the right one, how impactful and how incredibly productive people can be, and looking for great colleagues, as well as looking to make an impact. So I think one of the things I've realized, having led both sales and marketing teams, I really enjoy seeing that come together. I enjoy sort of like coaching and trying to chase that PO. That's been a lot of fun. So although I have extensive marketing background, having more recently led sales teams as well, I think I would love to have an opportunity to do that again, and probably remain in some sort of healthcare or affiliated business, because I really have enjoyed working over the years with my clinical partners tremendously. So I think sort of marrying those three things, sales, marketing, and clinical is where my passion would lie.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks so much, Ileana, for today. And I'm sure that our listeners really appreciated all your insight. And I think most importantly is just that sharing, and in terms of marketing success and how really sales and marketing are intertwined, all aspects of the business, whether it's marketing, sales, finance, QA, operations, logistics. It's all important that those individual units work together in order to help a business be successful. But sales and marketing for sure. I mean, to me, that's like your right hand, your left hand. You've got to be. I never understood that, right? Well, working in organizations, I worked in some that they were well-oiled machines, and I worked in others that they were adversaries. So it was strange. But anyway, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Yes, and it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Linda, and good luck to everyone out there looking for their next opportunity. And I know that there's some great recruiters like yourself who look after both the candidates and the interests of the company. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
All the
Appreciate
best.
it. Thank you.